Hello Upsite. I am Gigi or George from Upstyled by Gigi, and I am going to show you just a quick little flip of a vintage mirror I have. I was given this mirror, someone was throwing it away. It was previously painted and it looks a bit of a mess. So I thought it's solid wood, it's oak, it's lovely heavy, beveled edge, old mirror, does not deserve to go in the tip. So I thought I would do a little video for you. So this is the mirror. As you can see, bring you in a bit closer, it's a bit of a state. So first things first, I'm going to give it a really good clean. So I've got some warm water, a scrubby sponge, and I really like this elbow grease all-purpose cleaner degreaser. It's really good and it gets everything really nice and clean. So I'm just gonna, hopefully you guys are gonna see this. Move over a bit. So all I want to do is just make sure all of this frame is nice and clean. Give it a really good scrub. Get in all those corners where all the dust hides. Really important to make sure that you start with a nice clean canvas, because you can't expect to have a nice finish if you don't start with it all nice and clean. Bit more spray on this sponge. You can see me in the reflection, can't you? There you go. Getting all those corners. I'm not too worried about the actual mirror for now, because I will I'll give that a good clean later on in the process. So I'm bound to get a bit of paint on it. So if you look down here, look at how dirty that water is. Where are you? Just from cleaning that, it's brown. So I've got a clean cloth and some just plain warm water as well, and I'm going to give it another wipe. So you want to get all of that detergent off and make sure it's all nice and clean, all in the corners. These bits you find the dust sticks in there is. So you want to make sure they're all lovely and clean. Give that another go over. Nice clean mirror. I'll be back in a second to show you the next step. Back for some sanding. So I've got my electric sander and I've just set my mirror up on the floor on an old bit of underlay to stop it moving around. And I'm just gonna try and sand as much of this old finish off as I can. So fingers crossed. So, as you can see, that is the old finish removed. And what I'm going to do now is just use a fine paper with a sanding block and just do it a little bit by hand just to smooth down any rough bits. Nice and smooth. And now I've got an extra fine sanding sponge, and I'm just going to go back and forth a couple of times over those edges, being careful not to nick your mirror. Done that before. You don't want sanding scratches on your actual mirror. Lovely and smooth. Ready for step 3. Hello, I am ready for the next stage of this mirror makeover, and I'm going to be doing a raised stencil to add a nice detail around the frame. So I'm using Stencil, I've got my scraper, and I have got some just all-purpose filler as well. Because the frame is only about 1 inch wide, I'm actually only going to use 1/2 of the stencil, but I still think it's going to be really pretty, so cross your fingers. I've just taped quite roughly around the edge, and you will see why. It's just to keep things a little bit neater, but you don't have to, you can wipe up instead, but I just find this a little bit easier. So I come over here and put you down a bit. So this is the top of my mirror up here, so I'm going to go along the sides first. Let's move you out a little bit. There we go. So I'm going to position my stencil to where I want it. I decided I'm going literally just using the 1/2 because that's pretty much perfect. And I'm just popping a little bit of tape at the top. And a little bit here at the bottom. So with my scraper, I'm just going to put a little bit of filler on there. Not loads, and I'm going to go over that stencil. Now I'm working from the outside of the frame to the inside and just gently dragging that filler over the holes of the stencil. Tiny little bit more. I literally just dipped it in to pick up a tiny bit. Sometimes if you get too much, you just end up making a big old mess. So, I'll try and bring you a little bit closer. You can see I've just filled all the void in that stencil. There we go. And now I'm just going to carefully take that off and you're left with that pretty pattern. And I'm going to go realign my stencil. Now what I'm not going to do is put this end down because it will flatten and make that a bit of a mess. So just very carefully, I'm going to just do this bottom bit here. Ta-da! And then that one, let's move a few back round. So we're going to go over and do this side here. Again, so I've made a right old mess down there, look. So just with some tissue or something, just wipe that up. And if there's some on the back of your stencil, you can just wipe that off a little bit as well. Here we go. Let's try again. So line your stencil back up. And you might be able to see this, but I've literally gone, so the edge of the mirror goes straight the way through the very center, using all the points and details on there as a reference. So again, not loads of filler. I'm going to come over this side, and we're just going from the outer side of the mirror to the inner. Don't fuss over it too much. If it's a little bit knobbly and bobbly, that is fine. We will come back to that once it is completely dry. So again, repositioning the stencil just to finish this little bottom bit. And there we go. So at this point, my stencil's a bit mucky. So while it's all nice and wet and it'll wash off my stencil really nicely, I would go and wash my stencil and dry it up and start afresh on the other two sides. I like to do the raised stencils just a little bit by little bit because it gets messier and messier, and it just gives the finished result a much better look.